Captain Kim Jae pushed through the sweaty crowd of alien traders, keeping his black cowboy hat low over his eyes. The air inside Titan Station's underground auction hall stank of sulfur and fear. Strange creatures from across the galaxy pressed against each other, their multiple eyes gleaming as they watched the stage with hungry interest. Jay had been hunting bounties for 15 years, ever since the war ended. His weathered face told stories of countless firefights on dead worlds and space battles that lasted for days. The twin plasma pistols at his sides had never failed him, and his reputation as the cowboy made even the most dangerous criminals think twice before drawing on him. But today wasn't about bounties. Today, he was looking for information about the missing human colonies on the Rim worlds. 3 settlements had gone dark in the past month, and the only lead pointed to this illegal slave market floating in the asteroid belt. The stage lights dimmed as the next item was brought forward. A tall, muscular alien with blue skin and forearms grabbed a heavy chain. Dragging something behind him, the crowd leaned forward, their excitement building like electricity in the air. What emerged from the shadows made Jay's blood run cold. A human figure, completely covered by a thick black sack that seemed to absorb light itself. The person underneath moved with strange calm, not struggling or crying like the other prisoners he'd seen tonight. Their breathing was steady, controlled, almost like they were meditating. The blue-skinned auctioneer, as L3 from the outer rim, raised his forearms for silence. His voice boomed through the hall's speakers with mechanical precision. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings of all species, we present tonight's final offering. 1 Terran female, age and origin classified by previous owner's request. A ripple of whispers spread through the crowd. Humans were rare in the slave markets, especially out here in the lawless territories. Most aliens feared them too much to risk capture. Humans had a nasty habit of escaping, and when they did, they usually came back with friends carrying very large guns. The auctioneer's voice took on a warning tone that made several smaller aliens step back. Before we begin bidding, I must inform all potential buyers of a concerning pattern. This particular specimen has been sold 3 times in the past 6 months. Each previous owner was found dead within 24 hours of purchase, under mysterious circumstances. The crowd murmured nervously. A few aliens near the back started pushing toward the exits, but others pressed closer, their greed overcoming their fear. Dangerous merchandise often meant valuable merchandise. Jay studied the figure on stage more carefully. Something about the way they held themselves seemed familiar, but he couldn't place it. The sack covered them completely, but he could tell from their posture that this wasn't some terrified colonist. This person was waiting for something. Bidding starts at 10,000 credits, the auctioneer announced. A slug-like creature near the front raised a tentacle. 15,000, 20,000. Called out a robot trader with glowing red eyes. The bidding continued. But Jay noticed something strange. The really dangerous aliens, the ones who usually fought over rare specimens, weren't participating. They watched with interest but kept their hands down. It was like they knew something the others did in single quotas. At 40,000 credits, only 3 bidders remained. The slug creature was sweating green fluid from its pores. The robot's processors were clicking rapidly, calculating odds. A third bidder, some kind of insect alien with razor-sharp claws, clicked its mandibles impatiently. Jay made his decision. Whatever was under that sack, it was connected to the missing colonies. He could feel it in his gut, the same instinct that had kept him alive through decades of hunting the galaxy's worst criminals. 50,000 credits, he called out, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. The entire hall went silent. Every eye, sensor, and optical organ turned toward him. The slug creature's tentacles went limp. The robot's clicking stopped completely. Even the insect alien took a step back. The auctioneer's forearms trembled slightly as he recognized the human standing at the back of the hall. The legendary Captain Kim Jae honors us with his presence, he said, his voice suddenly much more respectful. Does anyone wish to bid against the cowboy? No one moved. No one spoke. The silence stretched on for long seconds that felt like hours. Every creature in that hall had heard the stories. How Jay had single-handedly taken down the Crimson Fleet. How he'd walked into a space station full of pirates and walked out with their leader in chains. How his plasma pistols had never missed their mark when it mattered. Sold to Captain Kim Jae for 50,000 credits, the auctioneer announced, relief clear in his voice. As Jay walked toward the stage to collect his purchase, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just bought more trouble than he bargained for. But trouble was his business, and business was about to get very interesting. The airlock sealed behind Jay with a soft hiss as he dragged the chained figure aboard his ship. The desert whined. The vessel was old but reliable, a modified patrol cruiser he'd won in a card game on Mars 5 years ago. Its hull bore scars from a dozen firefights, and the engine hummed with the steady rhythm of a machine that had seen too much space and too many battles. Jay's boots echoed on the metal deck. Plates as he guided his purchase toward the ship's small holding area. The figure moved without resistance, feet shuffling in perfect rhythm despite being unable to see. That calm behavior still bothered him. Most prisoners fought or begged or at least tried to ask questions. This one just walked forward, like they were taking a pleasant stroll through a garden. The holding area was barely large enough for 2 people, with reinforced walls and a single chair bolted to the floor. Jay had designed it for transporting bounties, not for whatever this was turning into. He activated the security locks and checked his plasma pistols one more time before reaching for the sec. Whoever you are, he said quietly, I'm not going to hurt you, but I need to know what I'm dealing with here. His fingers found the edge of the thick black material. It felt strange, almost alive, like it was made from some kind of organic fiber that absorbed heat and light. As he lifted it, he caught a glimpse of dark hair underneath. The sack came free with a soft whisper of fabric. Jay's world stopped. The woman sitting before him had short black hair and sharp features that belonged in his nightmares. Her dark eyes held the kind of cold intelligence that could calculate a dozen ways to kill someone before they finished saying hello. A thin scar ran from her left temple to her jaw, a souvenir from the war that had ended 3 years ago. But it was impossible. She was dead. He'd seen the reports, watched the memorial service, even visited the monument they'd built for the fallen heroes of Kepler Prime. Lee Hanna, he whispered, his voice cracking like a teenager's. She smiled, and it was like watching a ghost come to life. Hello, Jay. You look older. His knees gave out. The legendary bounty hunter, the man who'd faced down entire crews of space pirates without blinking, collapsed to the floor like his strings had been cut. The plasma pistols clattered beside him. Forgotten. You're dead, he said, staring up at her from the deck. The Meridian massacre. The whole strike team was wiped out. I saw the official reports. Hannah stretched her arms above her head, and the reinforced restraints that had been designed to hold a raging Corvan warrior snapped like dry twigs. The metal links scattered across the floor with tiny ringing sounds. Reports can be faked, she said, standing up and rolling her shoulders. Deaths can be staged. Sometimes the best way to fight an enemy is to let them think they've already won. Jay's mind raced, trying to process what he was seeing. During the war, Hannah had been humanity's secret weapon. Enhanced reflexes, perfect aim, and a tactical Mind that could outthink any alien computer, she'd led special operations behind enemy lines, hitting targets that regular soldiers couldn't even reach. The Meridian Massacre had been her final mission. Intelligence said she'd infiltrated a major alien command center with her team, planning to steal critical battle plans. Instead, they'd walked into a trap. Orbital bombardment had turned the entire facility into molten glass, with no survivors. The memorial service, Jay said, still sitting on the floor. Your sister gave a speech. She cried. Sunmi is a good actress, Hannah replied. Examining the broken restraints with professional interest, the tears were real. Though, she thought, I was dead too, until last month. She moved to the small porthole and looked out at the stars. Even in the dim light of the holding area, Jay could see that something had changed about her. She was leaner than before, with new scars on her arms and a haunted look in her eyes that hadn't been there during the war. 3 years, he said, finally managing to stand up. 3 years I thought you were gone. Where have you been? Working. She said simply. The war didn't end. Jay, it just changed. The aliens who attacked our colonies didn't give up when we signed that peace treaty. They adapted. She turned back to face him. And he saw something burning in her eyes that made him step back involuntarily. They started taking our people instead of killing them, entire settlements. Gone overnight. Men, women, children, all disappeared into the slave markets. The government calls it piracy. But it's systematic, organized. Someone is building an army using human captives, the missing colonies. Jay breathed. That's why you're here. I've been tracking this network for 2 years, she said, walking over to him. Letting myself be captured, sold, studying their operations from the inside. Every time a buyer took me, I gathered information before I eliminated them, the 3 dead owners. They were all part of it, traders, enforcers, middle management. In a network that stretches across 12 systems, her voice dropped to a whisper. But now I've found something bigger. Something that's going to require more than one person to stop. Jay looked at her. This ghost from his past who'd just shattered everything he thought he knew about the last 3 years. What do you need? Hannah pulled up a holographic star map on Jay's navigation console, her fingers dancing across the controls. With practiced ease, red dots appeared across 3 different sectors, each one marking a location where humans had vanished without a trace. It started small, she said, pointing to the Outer Rim territories, a mining colony here, a research station there. The authorities blamed pirates or equipment failures, but I noticed the pattern. Jay studied the map, his experienced eyes seeing what others had missed. They're all isolated settlements, far from military patrols. Exactly. And look at this. Hannah manipulated the display, showing shipping routes and auction records. Every single disappearance coincides with increased activity in the slave markets. But these aren't random raids, Jay. They're surgical strikes. She brought up footage from her hidden cameras, recordings she'd made during her time as a captive. Alien facilities filled with advanced medical equipment, laboratories where human DNA was being analyzed and modified, training centers where humans were being conditioned into perfect soldiers. They're not just selling us, she said, her voice tight with controlled anger. They're studying us, learning what makes humans so adaptable in combat, so stubborn when we're cornered. Then they're trying to create that same fighting spirit in their own troops. The largest red dot on the map pulsed ominously near the Zirian system, a dead world, officially listed as uninhabitable due to toxic atmosphere and radiation storms. Perfect place to hide something. That's their main processing center, Hannah said. I've been sold there twice. but never got deep enough inside to see the full operation. Too many guards, too many security measures. Jay cracked his knuckles, a habit from his younger days. Good thing you won't be going alone this time. 2 days later. The desert wind drifted silently through the asteroid field surrounding Zirion. The planet's surface was a wasteland of cracked earth and poisonous storms, but orbital scans revealed something interesting buried beneath the northern pole. There, Hannah whispered, pointing at the scanner display. Massive underground complex. Our readings suggest thousands of life forms. They landed the ship behind a cluster of jagged rocks, using the natural formations to hide their thermal signature, both war environments. But Jay had modified his with extra armor plating and weapon attachments, old habits from his bounty hunting days. The entrance to the facility was disguised as a mining shaft, complete with fake equipment and warning signs in multiple alien languages. But Hannah led them to a maintenance tunnel she'd discovered during her previous visits, a narrow passage that wound deep into the planet's crust. They crawled through darkness for what felt like hours, following service conduits and events. The facility was huge, much larger than anything they'd expected. Multiple levels stretched down into the planet's core, each one humming with activity. Security checkpoint ahead. Hannah whispered through their comm link. 2 gods, Corvan species. Big, stupid, but tough skin. Jay nodded, drawing his plasma pistol. The Corvans never saw them coming. 2 quick stuns, and the guards dropped silently to the floor. They dragged the unconscious aliens into a storage closet and continued deeper. The first chamber. They found made Jay's stomach turn. Rows upon rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each one containing a human prisoner. Men, women, even teenagers, all floating in green fluid with monitoring cables attached to their bodies. Dear God. Jay breathed, moving between the pods. There must be 300 people here. More on the other levels, Hannah said grimly. Working at a control console. I'm trying to access their records, see how many facilities like this exist. The data that scrolled across the screen was horrifying. 12 major processing centers across the galaxy. Thousands of humans captured, experimented on, modified. Some turned into soldiers. Others used for genetic material. Still others simply studied until they died. We have to get them out, Jay said, his hand moving to the emergency release controls. Wait, Hannah said. But it was too late. Red lights exploded across the chamber as alarms began screaming. Emergency barriers slammed down, sealing the exits. The facility's automated defenses had detected unauthorized access to the stasis systems. They know we're here, Hannah said, her enhanced reflexes already moving as the sound of running feet echoed from multiple directions. The first wave of guards burst through the main entrance, a mixed group of aliens armed with energy weapons and null disruptors. Jay dove behind a bank of monitoring equipment as plasma bolts seared the air above his head. Hannah moved like liquid lightning, rolling between the stasis pods and coming up firing. Her shots were perfect, each one finding gaps in armor or striking weapons from enemy hands. But more guards kept coming. There's too many, Jay shouted, returning fire with both pistols. We need to find another way out. A massive explosion rocked the chamber as something heavy hit the sealed entrance through the smoke. Jay saw the outline of a battle robot, its sensors glowing red as it scanned for targets. Combat mech, Hannah said, diving for cover as the robot's cannon charged up. Military grade. This just got a lot more interesting. The robot fired, and the world erupted in heat and light. The battle robot's cannon blast shattered half the stasis pods, sending green fluid and sparks cascading across the chamber floor. Jay rolled behind a massive support pillar as metal fragments whistled past his head. The freed humans in the broken pods gasped and coughed. Struggling to breathe real air for the first time in months, "Move," Hannah shouted. Grabbing two of the weakened prisoners and pulling them toward a side corridor. "We can't fight that thing in here." More guards poured through the smoking entrance. But these weren't the usual mix of alien species Jay was used to fighting. These were professionals, moving in coordinated teams with military precision. Their armor bore no markings, but their tactics screamed elite forces. Jay's plasma pistol spoke in rapid succession, each shot finding its mark. But for every guard that fell, two more took their place. They were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The battle robot stomped forward, its massive feet crushing monitoring equipment. As it locked onto Hannah's position, its cannon began charging again. The whine of building energy filling the air. "This way," Hannah called, spotting an emergency shaft in the ceiling. She boosted Jay up first, then the rescued prisoners, her enhanced strength making the task look effortless. They crawled through maintenance tunnels as explosions echoed behind them. The robot was tearing the chamber apart, looking for their buddies, but Hannah knew these passages better than the facility's own security teams. "Command center," she whispered, pointing down a narrow shaft. "If we can take their communications hub, maybe we can call for help." The command center was 3 levels up, protected by multiple security doors and guard posts. But chaos was spreading through the facility as more alarms triggered and automated systems began releasing other prisoners in the confusion. To determined humans could move almost unseen. They found the facility commander in his private office, frantically trying to contact his superiors on a secure channel. He was a Voss, one of the reptilian species from the Andromeda sector, with scales that shifted color based on his emotions. Right now, those scales were flashing bright red with panic. Kev barely had time to look up before Hannah's stun blast dropped him to the floor. When he woke up, he was tied to his own chair with his claws bound behind his back. "Let's start simple," Jay said, checking his weapons while Hannah worked at the commander's computer terminal. "How many humans are being held in facilities like this?" Ket's forked tongue flicked out nervously. "I will tell you nothing. Human scum." Hannah didn't look up from the computer. "We already have access to your files, Keth. We know about the other 11 processing centers. We know about the genetic modification programs. What we don't know is why." "Yeah," Jay added, pulling up a chair to sit directly in front of the alien commander. "See, I've been hunting criminals for 15 years. Pirates, smugglers, murderers. They all have simple motives: money, revenge, territory. But this," he gestured at the screens showing thousands of human prisoners, "this is something bigger." The computer terminal chimed as Hannah broke through another security layer. "Jay, you need to see this." The file she'd uncovered painted a picture that made Jay's blood run cold. Detailed biological studies of human physiology, psychological profiles of human behavior under stress, tactical analyses of human military strategies. It wasn't just slavery. It was systematic research. "The Council of 12, Keth finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "They have been watching your species since you first left your home world." "Council of what?" Jay demanded. Ket's scales shifted to a sickly yellow color. "The 12 most powerful species in this galaxy. When humans began expanding beyond your solar system, the Council saw a threat that could not be ignored." Hannah stopped typing and turned to face their prisoner. "What kind of threat?" "You adapt too quickly," Keth hissed, his reptilian eyes fixed on hers. "Other species take centuries to develop new technologies, new strategies. You do it in decades. You spread to new worlds faster than anyone thought possible. You turn every planet you touch into a fortress. The alien commander's scales began, flashing between red and yellow, betraying his fear and anger. The council studied your war records. Humans who should have been defeated instead found ways to win. Humans who should have surrendered instead fought harder. Your species turns every disadvantage into a weapon. So you decided to wipe us out. Jay said, his voice deadly quiet. No, Kith replied. That was tried during your war. It failed. The council learned that direct confrontation only makes humans more dangerous, so they chose a different path. He gestured weakly at the screens round them. Study you. Learn what makes you so resilient. Take your genetic advantages and give them to our own warriors. Then, when we understand your strengths completely, eliminate every human colony in the galaxy. The room fell silent except for the hum of computers and distant explosions from the low levels. Jay felt a cold rage building in his chest, the kind of anger that had kept him alive through countless firefights. How long? Hannah asked. The enhanced soldiers are already being deployed. Keth said, in 6 months. The first wave of attacks will begin. 12 species, each using human-enhanced troops, will strike simultaneously at every major human settlement. Not if we stop you first, Jay said, standing up. Keth's laugh was like broken glass. Stop us. You are 2 humans in a galaxy of trillions. The Council has been planning this for 30 years. You cannot. His words were cut off as the facility shook under a massive impact. Through the command center's windows, they could see ships in orbit. Human ships, their weapons charging for another bombardment. Actually, Hannah said with a cold smile, we already sent your files to Earth Command. Turns out humanity doesn't like being studied. The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in decades. 12 massive battleships, their hulls scarred from 100 conflicts. Surrounded by clouds of fighter craft like angry hornets. But it was the lead ship that made every alien in the system freeze with recognition. The Soul's Vengeance, humanity's most feared dreadnought, had come calling. This is Admiral Park Min-ho of the Terran Defense Force. The transmission crackled through every communication channel in the system. You have 30 seconds to surrender, or we will demonstrate why the Council of 12 should have minded their own business on the surface of Zirion. Jay watched through the facility's observation deck as panic spread through the alien fleet. Ships were trying to scatter, but human interceptors were already moving to block escape routes. It was like watching a pack of wolves corner a herd of frightened deer. They didn't expect this, Hannah said, still working at the command terminal. According to these files, they thought it would take months for Earth to organize a response. They don't know humans very well, Jay replied, helping organize the rescued prisoners. We don't like waiting when our people are in danger. The facility was in chaos. Alien guards were abandoning their posts, trying to reach escape pods before the human bombardment began. But the rescued humans weren't going to make it easy for them. Men and women who'd been prisoners hours ago were now hunting their former captors through the corridors, armed with captured weapons and burning with righteous anger. Jay, one of the freed colonists, called out, we found a main hangar. There's a command ship trying to launch through the facility's windows. They could see a massive alien vessel rising from a hidden launch bay. It was easily twice the size of any human ship, its hull covered in weapon ports and shield generators. This wasn't just a transport. It was a mobile fortress. That's where they keep the main database, Hannah said, recognizing the ship design from her intelligence files, everything about the Council's plans, the locations of other facilities. The enhanced soldier programs, it's all on that ship. Jay looked at the ascending command ship. then at the human fleet beginning its attack run. Can we reach it? The facility has a launch bay on level 7, Hannah replied. Already moving toward the elevator. There should be transport ships we can use. They raced through corridors filled with smoke and emergency lighting, the freed prisoners following behind them. The battle had moved to space now, with human fighters engaging alien interceptors in deadly dogfights among the asteroids. Explosions lit up the void like deadly fireworks. The transport ship was a captured human design, ironically enough. A fast courier vessel that had probably been taken from one of the missing colonies. Jay took the pilot's seat while Hannah worked the weapon systems. "This is crazy," muttered one of the rescued colonists, a middle-aged woman named Kim So-young who'd been a planetary administrator before her capture. "We're flying into a space battle with a cargo ship. Crazy works," Jay said, gunning the engines. "Besides, that command ship has something we need." They burst from the launch bay just as a human destroyer finished off an alien cruiser with a devastating missile brush. The Soul's Vengeance was engaging the command ship directly, its massive guns hammering at the enemy's shields. "This is Transport Alpha 7 requesting permission to dock with enemy command vessel." Hannah transmitted to the human fleet. "Permission denied," came the immediate reply from Admiral Park. "That ship is about to become a debris field, Admiral. This is Captain Kim J. I'm carrying Hannah and critical intelligence data. We need 5 minutes inside that ship." A long pause. Then, "The Phantom of Kepler Prime. Confirmed dead 3 years ago. She got better," Jay said dryly. "Can you give us an opening?" The human fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of trying to destroy the command ship, they focused on its engines and weapons. Precision strikes that left the vessel crippled but intact. J brought their transport alongside the massive alien ship, using magnetic clamps to lock onto the hull. 30 minutes. He told the group, "Get in, get the data, get out." The command ship's interior was a maze of corridors designed for creatures much larger than humans. They split into teams, with most of the rescued prisoners securing the hangar, while Jay and Hannah pushed toward the ship's central computer core. They fought through waves of alien crew members. But these weren't the enhanced soldiers they'd faced. Planet-side, these were technicians and officers, dangerous but not prepared for humans who'd been pushed too far. The computer core was a vast chamber filled with crystalline data storage units, each one containing terabytes of information about the Council's operations. Hannah plugged in her portable transmission unit while Jay guarded the entrance. "Upload. Starting," she said as her fingers flew across the alien interface. Locations of all 12 processing facilities, genetic research data, enhanced soldier deployment schedules, everything. Alien security forces were massing outside the core chamber, preparing for one final assault. Jay could hear their commanders shouting orders in multiple languages, coordinating their attack. "How long?" he asked, checking his remaining ammunition. 2 minutes, Hannah replied. "The files are massive." The aliens came in a rush. Dozens of different species working together with desperate efficiency. Jay's plasma pistol sang their deadly song. But there were too many targets. His shots found their marks. But the aliens kept coming. A plasma bolt grazed his shoulder, spinning him round. Another shattered the wall beside his head. He was running out of time and ammunition. Then the rescued prisoners arrived, charging into the chamber with captured alien weapons and savage determination. Colonists who'd been farmers and teachers and shopkeepers now fought like seasoned soldiers, driven by months of captivity and the promise of revenge. "Upload complete," Hannah shouted over the noise of battle. "His command has everything," through the chamber's massive viewport. They could see the human fleet regrouping. The alien ships that hadn't already fled were surrendering, their crews knowing that resistance was futile. "Message sent," Hannah said. Smiling as warning lights began flashing throughout the command ship. The aliens were preparing too. "Abandon their vessel. They'll learn what happens when you threaten our kind." Jay reloaded his pistols one more time, grinning despite the pain in his wounded shoulder. Time to show them why they should have left us alone. As they evacuated back to their transport, the rescued humans cheered and embraced each other. Through the viewports, they could see more human ships arriving, reinforcements that would hunt down every remaining facility in the Council's network. The Soul's Vengeance opened communications one final time. "All ships, this is Admiral Park. Mission accomplished. Let's go home." As the human fleet formed up for the jump to hyperspace, Jay looked over at Hannah, who was finally allowing herself to rest after 3 years of lonely warfare. "So what now?" he asked. She smiled, the haunted look in her eyes finally beginning to fade. "Now, we make sure this never happens again." The Council wanted to study human nature. They're about to get a very personal lesson in the weeks that followed. The 12 processing facilities were liberated one by one. The enhanced soldier programs were shut down. The Council of 12 learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their adaptability or their technology. It was their absolute refusal to abandon their own. The end.